By week 3, each team is starting to know its strengths, while opponents are finding weaknesses. It's a time when we start to connect the dots, and it won't be long before the whole season takes shape. In week 3, we've reached some real rivalries, and some squads can stay in the driver's seat with league games on the line. Those games and more starting now on Gridiron Glory. All levels of football have kicked back off. Our favorite is the Friday night variety. Thanks again for joining us for another edition of Gridiron Glory. I'm your host, Blake Baker, and as always, co-host Noah Wolf is my sidekick from Studio A.
Blake, it was kind of a wet one out there. A lot of storms around the area, but I think we got most of the football in.
For sure. Some of the games suspended, as you'll see throughout the game. Most of the ones we went to, really physical, really good games, some rivalries in there, so let's just kick it off. Our first matchup of the night featured a cross-state showdown in the Plains. TVC Ohio reporter Thomas Garvig joins us now to see if Athens Bulldogs could fend off Parkersburg South.
And Blake, Athens already had the extra incentive to get a win after their tough loss against Fairland last week, but they also wanted to show those boys from West Virginia how football is played in Ohio. And it was just a gorgeous night of football tonight, and Clay Davis and the Bulldogs, they're coming out, giving a high five for the little kids, but nothing a high five here for Clay Davis. First throw of the game, it's picked off by Brett Hearn. Parkersburg South can't capitalize. Next drive for Clay Davis. He's going to try and make it up right here. Who says the big guy can't run? 31 yards down the sideline. That sets up this play. 5 plays later, it's Evan Adams for the score. He punches a ticket for 6-0 Athens. Next drive for Parker South. Here we go. It's Nick Yoho up the middle. He bursts through the defense, and he's going to ho-hum it 45 yards to the house. 7-6 Parkersburg South. Next possession for Athens. Clay Davis trying to get it going through the air. He's looking for his man. He finds a sliding Payne Gale for 25 yards. And then Blake, they get inside the 5. So whose number do you think they're calling? It's Evan Adams. The kid is a touchdown machine. Punches it in again from 1 yard out. 12-7. And then the next series, again, this is not the same play. It's Evan Adams again, his third score of the night. He has 7 touchdowns in 2 games at home. And then right before the half, it's Braden Mooney. He's going to find Brett Hearn here. 19-13 at the half. And Athens, they hold on in the dogfight, 26-16.
Man, after the last couple of weeks, Tommy, I'm shocked to see the Bulldogs kind of struggle to put points on the board tonight.
Yeah, and it wasn't necessarily what Parkersburg South was doing defensively, Blake. The Bulldogs have had a case of the turnover bug in their first couple of games. Tonight, they turned the ball over 3 times. 2 of those that led to Parkersburg South touchdowns early on.
Yeah, and it didn't help that Davis threw the pick on the first play. Tough start for the big fella.
Yeah, here's an alarming stat for you. In 3 games this year, Clay Davis has thrown 5 picks. He threw 5 picks all of last year.
Crazy, especially coming from the best quarterback in that conference.
Yeah, but it's not just him, though. Corbin Stadler and Payne Gale had key fumbles in this game that really turned the tide of the first half.
I was going to say, those turnovers had to help Parkersburg hang around in this one.
Yeah, this game was tight early on, but that's where the Athens defense stepped up. Caleb Rogers and these boys are a bunch of dogs. They also forced a couple turnovers themselves.
Sometimes there's nothing wrong with leaning on your defense to get the job done.
Yeah, outside of Nick Yoho, the Bulldogs defense was lights out. Braden Mooney fumbled on 3 or 4 different plays because of that Bulldog pass rush. That really was the difference in this game, Blake. And of course, the Evan Adams 4 touchdowns.
Nothing wrong with the running game and the defense leading the way for the Bulldogs. I'm sure they'll take that.
Oh, absolutely, Blake. And, you know, a little side note to this game. There was a 15-minute delay to injury, and Parkersburg's John Kidder was carted off the field, and we at Gridiron Glory hope he gets well soon.
It's the dangers of football, man. Never want to see that happen to anyone out there. But Tommy, thank you for the good work. Fans, do me a favor and grab your phones, as if you didn't have them out already. And scan the snap code on your screen and add us at Gridiron Glory on Snapchat. We think you'll enjoy our sideline views of our game of the week each Friday night. And of course, that's not all we've got planned. Plenty more snap action to come at Gridiron Glory. Meg's traveled more than 150 miles over the last 2 weeks. Needless to say, the Marauders are happy to be home. Ohio reporter Jacob Murray was there to see them host invading Logan.
Right. The Marauders had a rough start to their season, starting out 0-2, but this was their chance to get win number 1 against the Logan Chieftains, who also came into this one winless on the season. The Marauders are trying to put some positivity back into the community with a team hype circle before the kickoff. Megs would look a little lost on defense to start, and Logan quarterback Braden Spader connects with Colton Castle for the early touchdown to put them up 6-0. After a missed extra point, Megs would answer back with a 19-yard touchdown strike from backup quarterback Corey Cox to Zach Bertram, who makes a spectacular catching traffic. The Megs defense would get a stop and they would capitalize with another touchdown pass as their starting quarterback Coulter Cleland would find Cole Adams in the corner of the end zone for the score, putting them up 13-6. Adams had it going on offense and defense tonight. Deep pass from Spader is broken up by Adams, but it wouldn't be enough to stop Logan. A handoff to Tyler Cummins is taken to the outside and he will stretch it into the end zone, closing the lead to 13-12. Meigs would find the end zone one more time in the first half on this short touchdown pass to Landon Ackrey, putting the Marauders up 19-12 going into the half. Being that we leave at halftime, crazy second half would be Logan would put the Chieftains ahead and they would go on to win it 45-35.
So we didn't see it in the highlights, but Logan completes the comeback. What did they do late to take this one?
Right. Blake Meigs looked better in the first half, but Logan caught fire in the second half. Blocked extra points never seemed like a big deal, but it kept Logan in this game until they got hot in the second half. Big defensive stops helped to keep them in the game and helped them fight their way back into this game. The Chieftains outscored the Marauders 32-14 in the second half. This big scoring output from Logan would ultimately be the Meigs' downfall in the end.
Well, Meigs appeared to struggle offensively the last 2 weeks, but from the way we talked, you were impressed with their run game.
Zach Bertram is the starting running back for this team, and he was given the rock a bunch to start this game. Big bruising running back Abe Lundy had some strong runs to break through the Logan defense. Last but not least, Cole Adams had some outside runs to get the edge of the D and create matchup problems on the outside as well.
So good stuff out of the backfield, but a little bit of shaky stuff at the quarterback position.
Freshman quarterback Coulter Cleland had a rough start to this game as Logan put some big hits on him early on. He would have to leave the game for a short period of time, but he would come back in to score and help the Marauders stay in this game. Cleland showed some grit and toughness in this tough loss. If this team can rally around the toughness of their quarterback, they might be able to turn this season around.
Might be. It's a good shot for him. Jacob, thanks a lot. The Pew Research Center says more than 50% of Americans get their news from Facebook. So it's no wonder we include all our important news and notes there. Check us out. We have weekly photo albums, all our feature stories, and links to content on our website. It's a wide variety, so give us a like. I'm sure positive you'll find something that you like. Last week, we relived a phenomenal record-setting effort by Alexander's Eric Gabriel from 1999. Gridiron brand journalist Nate Busilla is back in studio to continue that story.
You're right, Blake. It was nothing short of phenomenal. And just to think, he was on the fence about even playing football in the first place. Now, tonight, part 2 of this Spartan series will dive deeper into the heart of that Alexander football team.
He didn't get the opportunity to play high school football, and I got the opportunity, so why pass it up?
All through Little League football, me and Mark played beside each other on the line, so we were very close. And then after his passing, his mother and father asked if I would continue to wear his number, 77, and I was just floored and honored.
It was Mark's senior year too. We met at his grave every Friday before every game. We always met, we didn't talk football, we just went up there and hung out like we were friends.
The community did a beautiful tribute to Mark and had his mom and dad and his brother and sister down on the field, and we presented them with a game jersey, 77.
But hey, don't count the Spartans out yet.
Doesn't look good for us. We got to go the length of the field. And Nate says, Eric, I'm gonna say something. I said, he looked at every person in the eye, said, if one of you have 1 inch of you believes we're not scoring a touchdown on this drive, take your butt to the sideline and send somebody else in. I don't think anybody winked, anybody blinked. That moment, that game, just wrapped it all up. You know, from 6th grade with Mark to that point, seeing Nate step out and the 77's saying that.
Mark would have done that.
He would have done that.
Had I, had he been there.
But I hope we carried his memory the way he wanted.
Life isn't fair, but that is no reason not to go do something great and give yourself to other people and lift them up and make them better.
Blake, as fans, we tend to rely heavily on the X's and O's, but oftentimes the game opens doors that develop into lifelong lessons. And the fascinating part about our jobs, unearthing those stories, sharing them all with you.
Nate, you got me hanging on for part 3, man. Thank you. Great work. As a live television show, we get tons of video content. And you're already watching the show, so the next step is YouTube. Go there, search WOUB PBS, and comb through our clips. Our latest include every episode from this historic 20th season, plus in-depth stories and analysis. Again, search WOUB PBS into YouTube, find the Gridiron page, and get to watching. Hope you're all ready to watch a little bit of Noah and Connor Mills, because they're going to hit you from the red zone.
Like former rivals in the beloved SEOAL, Gallia Academy and Jackson have met 100 times in their history. FAC reporter Connor Mills has all the highlights from game 101.
No, coming into the game, Gallia had the edge 49-44-7, plus commanding the Blue Devils is former GG Coach of the Year Alex Penrod. A true battle for two undefeated teams. Holzer Field at Alumni Stadium in Jackson, the Jackson Ironmen and the Gallia Academy Blue Devils set and ready to go to start the game. Tough defense from the Ironmen as they form the iron wall against James Armstrong and sack quarterback Justin McClellan to halt the Gallia Academy and force them to punt it away. At first glance, Jackson appeared to be gaining a lot of yards thanks to Jaden Spires on the ground, but a look closer, two holding calls effectively kills the drive, and Jackson will punt it away. Now Gallia with the ball back, they attempt to run it and then look to the air. Jackson defense is able to step up again, strip the ball, and Bryce Graham will be all over this one. Ironman give up a safety and then ensuing drive for the Blue Devils. Gallia rushes up the middle and McClellan will take it himself. First touchdown of the game, 9-0 Blue Devils. In response to the Blue Devil touchdown, Jared Eisenhower sings some Toby Keith and says, "How do you like me now?" That sets up Nevin Yates and now he's on his way. Touchdown Jackson. 9-7 Ironmen, they get on the board. Jackson's defense has been spot on all game and nothing changes here, but their offense, they had some slippery hands, fumbling the ball over again at the half. Gallia Academy 9, Jackson 7. Jackson will come back and win this one 15-9, a perfect 3-0 on the year. Noah, there was a huge drive to end this game.
But FAC reporter Taylor Jedrzak will tell you all about it. He and Blake are in the film room to analyze how Jackson pulled this one off.
Thanks, guys. So you all heard about the drama. Taylor here saw it. Would you mind running it back for us?
Well, Blake, this game was a battle. The Jackson offense struggled all night, but they were able to come through when it mattered the most. Pinned down on their own half-yard line, the Ironmen went on an epic 17-play, 7-minute and 4-second drive that included a couple huge fourth down conversions and ended in Jared Eisenhower finding the end zone.
So if my math's correct, that's 99.5 yards.
It was. They only had 186 yards on the game, so Eisenhower really showed up in the clutch.
Yeah, definitely a nail-biter in this one. Definitely what we expect out of a rivalry game, that and the physicality.
Yeah, both teams certainly came out looking to punish the other team tonight. Gallia Academy seemed to have the upper hand early. The Blue Devils were even out-Jacksoning Jackson at one point, but they controlled the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball and never let the Ironmen get anything going. Adding to that, both teams forced 3 turnovers, but it was the Ironmen that were able to convert those into scores.
Sounds like the defenses really came to play tonight.
They really did. Both impressed me with their ability to swarm the ball. Outside Jackson's game-winning drive, neither was able to muster much of anything on the night. Also, shout out to both the Ironmen and the Blue Devils for their clean uniforms tonight. I always enjoy a good color v color matchup.
You gotta love it when they both wear their home uniform. Taylor, thank you for going out to that one. Thank you for the great work. Twitter is probably our most active form of social media, and that doesn't just cover the tweets you see Friday nights. Anything we produce midweek will show up on your timeline. If you haven't seen it, it's because you haven't hit us with that follow yet. Do that. Then find different kinds of content and cover and content at Gridiron Glory. Now Noah is going live with Nick Orsini from Thornville.
That's right, Blake. The Sheridan Generals blew out their first 2 opponents, but don't expect John Glenn to go down so easy. MVL reporter Nick Orsini joins me live from Thornville. Nick, what was Sheridan's mindset tonight?
Well, Noah, Sheridan has outscored their opponents 85-21 through the first 2 weeks of the season, including a 49-0 win over MVL foe Maysville. So tonight against the Little Muskies, they had the chance to display their dominance against one of the top teams in the conference. After both teams traded, big matchup in the MVL this season at Paul Culver Jr. Stadium. After both teams traded possession, Sheridan's Ethan Heller takes the snap, and he goes 32 yards down the left sideline, setting up the Generals deep in John Glenn territory. The very next play, Heller looks deep and floats an absolute dime to Jacob Rhodes for a 30-yard touchdown reception, 7-0 Sheridan early in the first. John Glenn was searching for any kind of spark on offense, but Evan Williams is dropped by Adam Boyle, and their drive would stall. Next Sheridan possession. A little miscommunication between Heller and Jacob Rhodes, but no problem. Heller rolls out to his right and somehow connects with Rhodes on the sideline, but Sheridan had to settle for a field goal. A Little Muskies ball, and finally, they catch a break. Williams hits Reese Perkins over the middle for a 24-yard reception. Maybe I spoke a little bit too soon because next snap, Williams is picked off by Luke and Hill, setting up Sheridan to add to their lead, and they did just that. Heller, he's looking to air this one out, but he has to check it down to Logan Ramp. He follows his blockers down the right sideline, including a huge block from Rhodes, 51 yards to the house, 17-0 Sheridan at that point, and that lead would only increase as they go on to win 37-7 over John Glenn.
Wow, total dominance from Sheridan tonight. Nick, you mentioned the game started out with both teams slow, trading punts, but the final score says otherwise. What happened?
Well, no, it looked like it was actually going to be a really good game tonight, but then number 6 in red and gray just took over this football game. Ethan Heller and the Sheridan offense finally cracked the John Glenn defense. Heller found open receivers for wide open touchdowns, including a 45-yarder to Rhodes in the second half to start the running clock. Heller is dangerous with his arm and also his legs. He can roll out of the pocket and let his receivers get open.
A little resemblance of Dylan Dupler from 2 years ago, Nick. Well, John Glenn was a playoff team last year. They even made it to the state Final Four. So did they lose all their talent from last season, or is Sheridan just that good?
Sheridan is a talented football team, man. Their offensive line is not only big, but they are strong. They have great footwork, and that allows Coach Culver to open up his playbook and throw off opposing teams with their offensive style. They are athletic. Most of their star players like Rhodes, Heller, and Nick Rinaldi play both sides of the ball, and they're good at both offense and defense.
All right, Sheridan moves to 3-0. After tonight, what's on the radar for the Generals in the upcoming weeks?
Well, Sheridan remains at home with West Muskingum coming to town, but Tri-Valley had a come-from-behind victory tonight over Zanesville. I don't want to look too far into the season because it's only Week 3, but that Week 7 matchup in Dresden could be one of the games of the year in our coverage.
Yeah, it's looking like that could be for all the marbles, but I agree. Let's not jump too far ahead. We still have plenty of ways to go in the season, but the Generals are putting everyone in the MVL on alert. Thanks, Nick, and get home safe tonight. Now for another MVL game, we head to Blake and Joe in the red zone.
Thank you, Noah. Both Morgan and New Lexington had something to prove this week. The Raiders want to bounce back, and the Panthers want to prove they're for real. MVL reporter Joe Hennessy checked them out. Did they prove anything to you tonight?
As for the Panthers, yes. As for the Raiders, still an upstream battle. Morgan tried to get something going through the air, in the trenches, but nothing was clicking. New Lexington was able to find success on the ground early and show that they can compete in the MVL. Now, we were just 2 minutes late to this game, and New Lexington already scored. Christian Vance showed off his speed with a huge game. We were walking to the field. All of a sudden, you hear screams and chants, and you're like, oh, great, we just missed something. But you know what? The Raiders got right back. They got a one-handed snag from senior tight end Brody Hodge. You may see that one later again in the show, so keep watching. But that didn't affect the Panthers too much. You know, a fullback give to big man Seth Burgess for the easy touchdown. New Lex went up 13-0 with just over 3 minutes left in the first. Third drive for the Panthers. Quarterback Logan Ratliff showed off his touch over the middle to CJ Ratliff for the 36-yard gain. Now, it seemed as if New Lexington was showing off that they could just do whatever they wanted. But let's see what's going on. So next play, right, it's a sweep to Christian Vance again. He goes off to the sideline. 30 yards later, he's in the end zone. He's showing off the speed. New Lexington was up 21-0 with over a minute left, still in the first. Morgan still fighting. In this one, though, a 29-yard gain up the sidelines from Colton Young. Colton Young's just 130 pounds. He's a little dude, but he was showing off his speed, took a hit, took a shrug off. It didn't mean nothing to him. They were still down, though, 21-7. Panthers go back to throwing the ball, and they found Bobby Kunkler. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. On a quick hitch, he turned to the outside, went up the sideline for an 18-yard gain. It showed that they could do both. And Ratliff would finish off the drive, running into the end zone. So he showed both sides of his game. They would go up 27-7 at half. The New Lexington Panthers kept pounding it. They ran away with a 44-7 win.
Yeah, you threw some big plays at us for sure. A lot of those in favor of New Lexington.
Yes.
So one side of fair, what happened with Morgan? Why couldn't they keep up?
Well, the problem was that they couldn't take care of the ball. They just struggled with fumbles and muffing the ball. It seemed like every possession that they had, it was a fumble at some point. 3 possessions in a row, their last 3 possessions of the first half, a fumble in at some point. So it was a handoff on one. It got muffed up. Luckily, they were able to retrieve it, or to recover it. Another one was a punt, a muffed punt, and then the other one was a muffed kickoff. So they just couldn't handle the ball. They couldn't get anything going. It seemed like they were trying to do something, and they just couldn't get it.
So mental mistakes definitely the issue, just giving it back to the Panthers.
Exactly. After their touchdown, it was a fumble. So nothing was going on. It was a pretty slow half for them. New Lexington just ran away with it.
Yeah, you certainly ran this one down for us. Seems like the Panthers just dominated in this one. Also, Morgan struggled, though. New Lex took advantage of those opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Vance, I talked about earlier, finished with 118 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns in the first half. All right, and Ratcliffe commanded the offense well. New Lex looks like a team that can make some noise in the MVL if they play like they did tonight. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, that's certainly what they're hoping. We talked about them proving that coming in. Joe, thank you for the great work, man. South Gallia and Fed Hawk have combined for 41 straight losses. Sam Wiesnith and Noah over in the film room going to tell you about it.
Yeah, that's right. TVC Hawking reporter Sam Wiesnith made the trip to Lancerland to see which one of these two teams could end their losing streak.
You're absolutely right, Noah. Both of these teams came into this matchup with the exact same mindset. Won their first game of the season, end their losing streaks, and gain some momentum moving forward. It was a quiet afternoon on Federal Hawkins Field until the Rebels came to town. The Lancers were expecting to put up a fight, and Hunter Smith was ready for battle. He throws a bomb down the field to junior Owen Roark. Unfortunately, their momentum doesn't last long, and they're forced to turn the ball over to the Rebels. Now it's time for South Gallia to take a crack at it, and just look at Jeffrey Sheets taking the ball all the way to the end zone, 62 yards, and he'll pick up the Rebels' first touchdown of the night. Tristan Saber says it's time to give someone else a turn, and he's going to hand the ball over to his guy, Kyle Northup, who takes off and never looks back at the crowd of Lancers behind him. It's his turn to be the star. He put another touchdown on the board for the Rebels. Schaefer's trying to keep the ball moving, now handing off to Gavin Bevan, but where'd the ball go? There it is. Federal Hawking picks it up and hopes to keep themselves in the game. Hunter Smith's wearing all of the hats tonight as he keeps the ball and pick up some ground for the Lancers. He'll also score Federal Hawking's only touchdown of the night, making the final score 41-6.
So South Gallia ends their losing streak, but it didn't look all fine and dandy for the Rebels.
Yeah, it seemed like the Rebels caught the penalty plague pretty early on, and there was no cure in sight. Almost every time South Gallia had the ball, they had penalty after penalty. Check out this play alone. There was 4 of them. At one point, they couldn't even be pushed back any farther.
So clearly the Rebels had their downfalls, but they still won the game. What went their way tonight?
Well, Tristan Saber had a couple of guys that he depended on all night. Jeffrey Sheets and Kyle Northup both played a strong ground game with a couple of passes thrown in there. Take a look at this clip. Kyle Northup shoves his way through a wall of Lancer defense and still manages to pick up quite a few yards.
Fed Hawk, though, still can't quite get it going, still can't get in the win column. What kept them from hanging around in this one?
That's an easy one, Noah. Incomplete passes. Hunter Smith kept trying to make things work, but it just wasn't clicking with the Lancers' offense, especially with the Rebels constantly on their tail. But I will say Hunter Smith was their star of the game, taking matters into his own hands throughout the evening.
Well, tough luck for Fed Hawk tonight, but at least South Gallia could get back in the win column. Thank you for the great work, Sam. Now for another game in the Hawking, we head to the Highlight Center with Blake.
You know, let's transition over to the Hawking. In 2017, Waterford had hopes for a perfect regular season, but those hopes were crushed in just week 3. Tonight it was kind of the same script. Waterford 2-0, Fort Fry 1-1, and hungry. And this rivalry, no doubt, was our game of the week. Game. We sent Hawking reporter Nick Niehaus to see the live action. Nick, how big was this one?
Blake, I don't think I need to express how much this game meant for Waterford. A month ago, they told me that, if any, this was the game they had their eyes locked in on during the preseason. It's been 10 years since Waterford has taken down Fort Fry. It was a crazy atmosphere. Waterford fans made the short trip to Fort Fry. First pass of the game, Peyton Stevens to George Panelitis. Check out that catch. Crazy grab to start the game. Worked there, why not try it again? Peyton Stevens rolling out right, launches this one to Zane Heiss, walks out of bounds. Fort Fry says no good. Refs say otherwise, so it sets up this 15-yard touchdown run from Braden Belleville. Check out that block, untouched in the end zone, hopping in for a 6-0 lead early on. Fort Fry has the ball, but not for long as they miscommunicate that handoff, giving Reese Thatcher the recovery. Peyton Stevens, it looks like the same play from earlier, but quite the different result. Looking for a man, doesn't find one, finds one off his hands and gives Evan Schaub the ball. Interception for Fort Fry. Waterford gets it back, and that's Zane Heiss at quarterback. Little trickery, giving him the touchdown pass to reach Thatcher. Makes it 14-0. Tyler Fisher, what a day he had on the ground for Fort Fry. 179 yards on the ground. Good chunk there. Sets up a 3-yard touchdown run by Tyler Fisher. Makes it 14-8 in the first half. Peyton Stevens rolling it back, dropping back, 2 tips and an interception from Brady Schilling. Low momentum shift there, Blake, making it 22-20 to end the game for Fort Fry in the second half.
So we normally see a lot of Braden Belleville, only 1 touchdown from him in those highlights. What was the offensive game plan for Waterford?
Well, in the first half, the big gains that really came through the air. Now, Braden Belleville, he was good, but 2 huge pass plays out of the gate led to that quick score. Belleville ended up getting his large amount of yards, but he wasn't breaking out any big runs. He was swarmed at the line and had to truck through the whole team. That's how Fort Fry was able to win this game. Credit their defense. But I could tell how important this one was to Waterford strictly from their play calls. They threw everything but the kitchen sink at Fort Fry. They had receivers throwing touchdown passes. They had Belleville getting the snap directly, and they had this crazy 2-point conversion formation with their line spread out across the entire field. They pulled out all the stops to get points on the board.
So with all that trickery, they were only able to find the end zone 3 times. What's up with that?
Well, we know that turnovers kill every team, but turnovers were the story of this one. Both teams had 2 turnovers in the first half, and there was only 1 punt up to the 3-minute mark in the second quarter. Containing Belleville helps, but a major penalty came in the third quarter when a 67-yard touchdown pass was called back for holding. Blake, it was a dime. They didn't end up scoring on that drive, which especially hurt, giving Fort Fry the tying and then leading touchdown to win the game. Unfortunately for Waterford, that double-digit losing streak against the Fort Fry, it's continuing.
Well, this seemed like an important one, an intense one. Excellent work, Nick. Appreciate you going out there tonight.
Thanks.
Now it's time for the part of the show I enjoy most. You love them, and we love giving them to you. Here's what we deem the best of the best, our top 3 plays of Week 3. Let's roll them. Out to Fort Fry, you just saw it for number 3 play on the night. Peyton Stevens manning the Waterford drive. Over the middle to George Pandelitis, hard name to say, hard catch to make, comes down hard in a cluster of cadets for a 15-ish yard gain. Now out to Holzer Field for number 2, Jared Eisenhower. A bomb over the middle, off of both hands of Garrett Daly, securely finds both hands of Gallia Academy and is going the other way. The best play on the night belongs to Brody Hodge. 4 fingers on that one across his body. I hope you didn't miss it. We're going to show it to you again anyway. Nice catch out in the flats, and when we speed it up, he even breaks the tackle. 11-yard gain for the big fella. The best play on the night. Now, it's not exactly a third of the way through the season, but we're getting there. You know, it's rolling through. Thought we'd see some rain tonight, like we mentioned, but smooth sailing for this week.
Blake, honestly, the season's flying by. We've got league games happening this week and into next week. Can't wait to see what we got in store for next week.
Yeah, certainly got a lot tonight. After a home game, Megs hits the road to Vinton County next week. Let's stick with the Ohio. Both the Buckeyes and the Raiders could use a win to start their league play. And here's a colorful birdie battle for you. The Golden Eagles and the White Falcons will battle it out in Belpre.
Always Hocking contenders Miller and Southern want to prove that they belong. What better time than our next game of the week? The Blue Lions own an electric offense. They'll put it on display when they host Lyndon McKinley.
And Tri-Valley has won 16 of the last 17 dating back to last season. Crooksville wants to end that trend when they host the Scotties next week. And finally, a familiar matchup also in the MVL, a rematch of last year's Division 4 Region 15 final. The Electrics own 8 of the last 9 regular season matchups with the Little Muskies. So that's what's on the agenda for next week. You're going to have to join us to see how it all pans out. Until then, remember there's nothing better than Friday nights in Gridiron Glory.